everybody. I'm Dee, and I just woke up, and I'm wondering if this is gonna become a thing for me, waking up and just hitting record, because my dreams are starting to become incredibly informative, and all the insight I seem to be looking for in my everyday life seems to be coming out in my dreams, which is cool. That means there's no wasted time. My dream last night was, it wasn't necessarily a nightmare, although I'm going to call it that. I was in, it was a dream all about the old paradigm. And if you don't know what that means, it basically just means, it's time. The Mayans predicted the end of the world. It's obviously kind of like a do or die time for this planet. And we're transitioning into heaven on earth. Or basically, if that term triggers you, it's just we're heading into better times. It's just time for us all to evolve our consciousness. That's all that's happening. And the term old paradigm just means not that. What we're trying to move away from and leave behind. And that's what my dream was about. It was about old paradigm. There was this guy so I was in this dress, this really tight dress it didn't fit me well, and it was made of really cheap material, but I knew I had to wear it because it's what everyone else was wearing, and it was like the trend at the time, and it was all I could get at Target. And so I picked that dress because it didn't seem to have a choice based on all the other options. And I was wearing it, and it didn't fit properly. It felt very uncomfortable, but I knew that's just what I had to wear. And I was walking around downtown Madison, Wisconsin. I don't currently live there, but I've lived there for 4 years of my life. And I was walking around State Street, which is like College Central in Madison, and I could just feel the vibe. And all of a sudden, let me explain the vibe. The vibe was like all these people in a fake frenzy of excitement. And I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying if you've ever been in a college town or a college campus. I'm not bashing college. I'm pointing out that there's a lot of fake excitement around going to college that's completely unfounded. If you're going there because you want to learn, great. I highly support you, and I think you're doing a good job in your life. But there seems to be a lot of, at least I've noticed, just a lot of fake excitement, like people who are walking around like the nightlife of a college campus is just all weird. Like everyone's running around trying to prove that they're having the time of their lives, but they're not even doing anything. So, yeah, I was walking around in that uncomfortable dress that didn't fit properly, in that vibe of the college town. And then all of a sudden, this guy was just, next to me all the time. And no matter where I went, he was just always there. And he started, opening doors for me. And I went into a place and he bought me food. And I didn't ever want him around, but he just wouldn't leave. And he did so many things for me for such a long period of time that I knew I was going to have sex with him. at some point because that was the trade-off. And I knew that in order to get rid of him, that's what was going to have to happen. Also later in the dream, I was in a car. It was a really, really, really nice car. I don't know cars very well, but it was the nicest car that I've ever even, like, seen in an ad. Like, it was nicer than, I don't know how I got that car in my dream, but it was perfect and really nice. And I was driving it around Madison, which I don't know. Madison's not a bad place. I really enjoy Madison. But there's not a lot of wealthy people there. Not that that makes or breaks a place, but I probably shouldn't have been driving the car around that much. And I was at a stop sign, and two guys, very grungy, I'm wearing a Nirvana shirt, and I'm saying grungy with, like, a disgusted tone. What I mean by grungy is, like, they just look like they just didn't look like they cared about themselves at all. I was stopped at a stop sign in this really nice car, and they had walked up to the stop sign, and they were just kind of hanging around. And then all of a sudden, one of them opened the front door and tried to sit in the driver's seat with me, and the other one got in the back. And I realized because I hadn't locked my doors, and I just started screaming at the top of my lungs, like, "Get out of my car right now!" I like freaked out, and they laughed, and they just kind of got a little more comfortable. And I had to conjure up every ounce of power I had to I belted out a scream, and they finally got out, and I closed the door, and I hit a button, and the back door closed, and I locked the door, and I sped away, and, like, the whole dream was I just felt violated, uncomfortable, and like I was trying to be somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. All these things. And when I woke up, I just felt really icky. And, it was old paradigm. All of it was old paradigm. The dress that didn't fit, but I had to wear it because it's what they were selling at the stores. The vibe of college campus was like the vibe of Earth right now. Like, I started talking to God, and I was like, because right now I feel trapped. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about is I feel like it's hard sometimes because it's like you met your twin, your whole life changed. You started realizing even more than you ever did before how upsetting and disturbing the earth is at its current state. And you start learning all this information about how we're shifting into the new world, new earth, heaven on earth, all this stuff, but then you go around in your everyday life and you're like, I just don't see this is gonna happen. Like, it's just, but don't let the old paradigm suck you back in. And that guy that was always attached and just, like, followed me everywhere, did nice things, and then I knew I had to have sex with him, that type of relationship is old paradigm. It's soulmate. It's karmic. It's not twin flame. It's any romantic relationship that is not your twin flame. All it is there's always a level of codependency. You're always bargaining, you're trading something for something else. For instance, he knew he had to be chivalrous and be like a gentleman was supposed to be, and then I would repay him by having sex with him. That's what every relationship that's not a twin flame relationship is. It's just a transaction. It's like, I'll scratch you here, you scratch me there. And it's sickening. That whole dream was just so sickening. And that nice car I was in represented New Earth and how perfect it was and how beautiful it was and how special And you gotta lock the door. You can't let old paradigm in. But I've been feeling sometimes like I walked through this doorway, the Twin Flame doorway, into the community that Jeff and Shaleia started. I feel like I walked through this doorway, and all I wanted to do was peek in and see what was going on. But then someone, like, pushed me through the door, and then I started meeting people. I looked over, and, like, Jeff and Shaleia were talking over here all the time on a stage, and I started making friends with the people in this new room, and I started having really cool conversations with them. But I've always felt like I keep looking back over the door thinking, okay, at some point I'm going to have to go back. But every time I think, I even look over to the old door, someone comes up and goes, hey, nice to meet you. And we have a conversation that's really cool and engaging, and I learned something from them. They learned something from me, and then they walk away, and I'll be like, okay. And then I kind of look back over at the door, and every time I look back over the door is a little more shut. And I'm starting to get massive anxiety, and I'm starting to experience massive resistance to the fact that there's going to come a time, and it may very well be now, that the door is shut, and it's not only shut, there's not a door anymore. Because once you learn a certain amount of things, once you can't unmeet your twin flame, you can't unlearn all of these things. And especially, like, since I got into Jeff and Shaleia's Twin Flame community and started going to Twin Flame Ascension School, that door... And here's the thing is, it's not like I want to walk through the door and go back to my old life or my old ways of being or the old paradigm. It's just that I feel like I was sucked into the new room, almost as if it wasn't by choice. And if that's how you feel, like, I didn't choose to meet my twin flame, I didn't choose this rude awakening, I didn't choose to start waking up and becoming more aware before the whole planet does. Who would choose this? You actually did. Your higher self set it in motion. And evolution of consciousness is unfolding at the pace that God would have it. I just want to remind everybody that old paradigm is really disgusting, and you don't want anything to do with it. Even if you're kind of feeling like you didn't have a choice. First of all, be thankful that you were kind of pushed. And second, understand that you ultimately do want this. Yeah, that you don't want to be going backwards. You don't want to be stuck in soulmate or karmic relationships that are ultimately doomed to fail. Ultimately, the world as has been set up now is doomed to fail, and that's why it is failing. All structures that are not built on eternality, eternalness, pure love, and the will of God will now crumble. That hasn't always been the case throughout history. You can point to stuff in history and go, well, that was, that's in fact one of people's biggest griefs with God is God wouldn't have let the Holocaust happen, or this happen, or that happen. Well, here's the thing. Humans created that. And God intervened to stop it. God's intervening on a it's funny is my cat just pushed my door open. Synchronicity, God's intervening on a total and complete level now. Because it's time. And you either get on board or you everyone experiences this in their own unique way, but it does feel like a death. It does feel like you are dying. I feel like I am dying. Every time I look back at the door and it's a little more closed, I have so much anxiety. But there's what I want to say to everybody is, trust me, you wouldn't rather not know. You wouldn't rather have not met your twin flame. Everything that's happening is for the highest good of everybody, and that includes you. And none of it's going to be scary. The scary part is thinking that you're losing everything because nothing new has appeared quite yet. And I pulled some rune stones because why wouldn't I? 2 rune stones for today. The first one is Naughties. And I pulled that and I was like, oh, I know that's not a great one. Like, shit. But it makes so much sense. It's the runestone for constraint and necessity. And pain. However, it's the kind of pain that, it's like a growing pain. It's about the necessity of learning to deal with severe constraint. It helps you identify your shadow or darker repressed side, places where growth has been stunted, resulting in weakness that are often projected onto others. Don't take this world personally. There may well be holdups and reasons to reconsider your plans carefully. Clearly, there's work to be done on yourself. It's basically saying that if you are feeling like I am right now, or you feel like you are sucked into this new vortex, and you almost feel like you didn't ask to be, so you feel pressured, or you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how to be of service to humanity. I don't know what I'm doing. You feel kind of like a fraud almost. It's no accident. Nothing's an accident. And this other runestone I pulled is all about the light that breaks through your shadow side. And this rune is about an opening the door. And it asks that you don't get sucked down or pulled back by the momentum of your old life. If you do so, you will be missing a lot of opportunity. In whatever situation you're currently in, it's for a very good reason. And even if you don't see the evidence that you're heading in the direction of a better life and a better world, you are. That discomfort you feel, like I said, is just growing pains, and it's the panic of feeling like you don't have a safety net to fall back on, which is old paradigm. It's not a safety net. It's one giant illusion. All your feelings of having been safe in that old reality, you're just lying to yourself. You are part of the illusion. So waking up to it it seems scary at first until you understand that you're in a way better position of safety now that you see it for what it is. So don't lose sight, and don't be scared if you feel like, oh, I'm learning all of this stuff. I'm involved in this community. I know all about twin flames. All my old relationship patterns, my old jobs, my old ways of thinking, they all feel really bad to me and I'm releasing them, but nothing new is coming in its place. Be empty for a little bit. Be empty. Be willing to be in an empty room. It's as if God came in and removed all of my furniture and all of my belongings from my house, put them in a truck and drove them away. And I assumed that when he did that, he would be refurnishing my house and replacing all my belongings with better things that are more suited to me. But he drove away a few hours ago, and it doesn't really feel like he's coming back. So I'm just in an empty house. That's unnerving. That is unnerving. But it is a golden opportunity to learn to find that sense of security that all of your furniture and belongings, which is a metaphor for old paradigm, all that security you thought it brought you, you have that security in you always, and you can tap into it always. The discomfort you feel at having an empty cup, being emptied of old ways of being and not having anything replaced, it's part of your spiritual evolution, and it's a very necessary part. Be willing to be empty for a while. And the word empty does not have a negative connotation to it. If it's triggering or feels negative, just think about that. Why is nothingness, perceived nothingness, so scary? I mean, that's why people are afraid of death in the first place, right? It's perceived nothingness, the unknown, the blank rune. I don't know if you know this, but some runestone sets have a blank rune, and it's highly unnerving when you pull it. But I actually find I really enjoy pulling it. I'm not going to go searching for it. But there's no marking on it. It's basically God saying it's a huge question mark. And I'm starting to prefer the feeling of not knowing. Because there seems to be even more safety in that. It doesn't seem like it, but just trust me, you will get to this point if you stick it out, and just don't fall back. Don't get sucked back. All that would happen is you will just continue to learn lessons and lessons and lessons until you realize none of it's for you, and you do want this new paradigm. And then, why waste all that time? Stay here, move forward, and know that what you're going through, we're all going through this at the same time. So if you feel alone in it, come join our community. Reach out and talk to me. We're banding together for this, and it's so important. So don't let old paradigms suck you back in. It's not a fun place to be. Lock your door. That metaphor, for me being in that car, that really beautiful car, that was all for me. And it was my perfect car, but I didn't lock the doors, and so random people got in, and I had to scream at them. Protect what you have coming to you. Protect how far you've come. Defend it. You don't have to be on the defense, but don't let anyone take away or tarnish your spiritual progress by trying to convince you that you're not heading in the right direction or you're doing something wrong. All right. See you guys later.